Okay, let's talk about the mixer splitter. Because, yeah, we've already talked about the main mixer, but there's another mixer. It's not as powerful as the main mixer, but it has features that the main mixer does not. So, I mean, obviously, if you are, let's say you're doing something, let's implement this idea. You're taking your triangle out and your square out because you want to mix those in your mixer, but you also want the output of, okay, you want to mix these two waveforms from your LFO, and you want to output them into, again, like we did before, into the FM of oscillator 3. Okay, so you've done that. Now your output from your mixer is going to, of course, be 3 and 4 and whatever you put into the preamp. But, you know, you really want oscillators 1 and 2 to be part of this crazy thrill. So you take the output of oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, and you can very simply put them into the mixer splitter, the two inputs. Now they will be equally mixed, and you can take their output and then, mix it in with the output of what you've got going on here anyway, which right now is just 3 and 4, which is noise and the crazy output of 3. Now you can take 1 and 2, which you've just mixed, just straight mixing. There's no, amount, attenuator. They're just going in as loud as they are, which is fine in the case of this particular patch. And so you're taking that out and you're plugging it into the preamp, which you've already talked about. And now you have just used channels 1 and 2 in your mixer to mix the triangle and square wave. And then you've taken the 1 plus 2 output and you've applied that triangle plus square to your oscillator 3 modulation. And then you took the output of 1 and 2, which are no longer part of the mixer output, unfortunately. And you have put them into the splitter mixer. We're not splitting, we're actually mixing. So now those two oscillator outputs are mixed equally. And then you've output that into the preamp, whose output is normaled to the mixer output. So this is a way that you just created a situation where you've got 3 oscillators and noise going through the mixer at the same time as part of the mixer being used to mix control voltages. You've lost nothing except for actually the ability to adjust the volume of 1 and 2. But still, you can't have everything. In that, you can hear the oscillators 1 and 2 doing the perfect fifth thing, the FM affected oscillator 3, and the noise. And that is your big, huge noise that you've created by implementing the mixer possibilities. And that is really, really cool. So the splitter can basically take 2 signals and you can take one of the outputs, use two signals as inputs, and then take one of the outputs, and you have effectively mixed those. But let's just say you're in a different situation. And what you really want is to mix the output of your, again, boring square and triangle. Actually, that would be the same thing. I mean, you could technically do that. If you were happy with the square and the triangle's output, equivalent output, you could plug those in and do that same thing and take a single output, and now those two control voltages are mixed. So you can use this as a control voltage mixer as well if you have two signals you want to mix. Of course, you don't have the ability to attenuate, but still. Now, there's one other thing, like say you want the square wave output and you want to direct that to two different places. You would go into your splitter mixer, and instead of plugging two things into the input, you would plug one thing into the input and then two things into the output so that the square wave could control, I don't know, some aspect of, you know, the sample and hold and somebody's FM. So now basically you've created a mult. This is a fancy type of mult where you can take a signal and then send it to two different places and effectively have the mult that actually you're kind of missing on this synthesizer, although you're not missing it because that's what this is. That's what the splitter is for. So you do have a mult and you can send a signal to two places, implementing the novel and convenient mixer splitter as it is right there. So that is a way that you can use the mixer and the mixer splitter in tandem to achieve your complex routing goals. It's really powerful for being such a simple combination of a couple of inputs and a couple of outputs. I'm constantly amazed by it. I know a lot of you have been doing Eurorack a long time, and you're probably like, no, that's pretty normal, and that's the sort of thing we do. But for someone who, you know, has not delved into Eurorack and still deals primarily with, you know, normal synthesizer paradigms, this seems really, really convenient. And at times I have played modular synthesizers that were limited in their routing possibility. So this inclusion, I think, is really, really fantastic. Okay. So that is the mixer splitter found on the Pittsburgh Modular Taiga.